We are living in late stage Yu-Gi-Oh! Does anyone know what late stage Yu-Gi-Oh! Is? Classic Paul. Classic Paul.
Guys, Paul here. So today I wanted to talk about the idea of what I call late stage Yu-Gi-Oh!
His camera is so good. I can see the skin cell from his birth from like 30 years ago still like pixelated on his foot. This is a telescope of a camera he's got.
And if you're hearing that, you're probably thinking, oh God, what are you talking about this time? I understand. This is basically the idea that Yu-Gi-Oh! It's gone on for 25 years. Konami wouldn't let us forget it for a while. But like any game or its franchise, IP or whatever that goes on that long, things change and develop and mature over time. Both internally, as in like, you know, the game itself, and also externally, the players and the people that play.
There's a gay Karibo here! Wait, my camera's covering it. Yo!
With it. And it can have some really good parts, some benefits, and also maybe some negatives, some downsides, some ramifications. And so I wanted to discuss how I sort of feel about it and also hear what other people think about this late stage Yu-Gi-Oh! That we are living in. So obviously there are some really great parts about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Isn't
Today.
every
Some really
current format of Yu-Gi-Oh! Late
conveniences that we
stage
have that did not
Yu-Gi-Oh!
always exist. For instance,
Right? Like Invasion of Chaos was like the first big power creep of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's an old man here to give you some context, but did you guys know that Banish a Light in a Dark, after milling some cards with like Thunder Dragon, not even milling really, just putting in the grave with like Thunder Dragon, and then you banish to summon BLS. BLS? Do you know what? That card is so turbo broken busted. It is the most powerful card. It's 3,000. It removes cards. It attacks twice. So like every current format is like late stage Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? At the time of Gold format, that was late stage Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not searchable, so it doesn't matter. You're gonna draw it. Those are 20 turns. You're going to see it, you know?
Always know about the release of new cards long ahead of time. Like, literally, whenever cards get revealed in the OCG, they're translated within, like, the hour and posted on Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization, Reddit, Twitter. We've got these sites like Yu-Gi-Oh! News, TCG, where you can just immediately see a new card and its effects and the art, and it's, like, it's in great detail, and it's very easy to share. If you think about just how easy it is to find those images, toss them into your group chat or your, you know, Discord or whatever, and people can just know what's coming up. In addition to that, there's so much coverage that's done on the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Scene in Japan and the OCG that we oftentimes even know what formats might look like ahead of time, what decks we can expect to be strong, what decks kind of seem like they underperformed, what tech cards are people messing around with over in OCG land before it comes to the TCG, so we can get new ideas to play with before they're even around. In addition to that, there are loads of other nice things like being able to know card value and card prices on hand. Like, because we've got smartphones, it's extremely easy to just look up the price of a card that you're trying to trade for or buy. And that helps a lot because it means that it's not likely that you'll just get scammed outright. I remember a period of time where it was not really the case that either of these two things existed. For instance, with card reveals, you might remember Shriek TCG if you're like a real old head. It was one of those sites that would do like OCG card reveals and try to translate them, but it was just very obscure and very
Shriek
niche, and, like, not everybody really knew about
TCG.
it. Oftentimes when a new set came out, people were just like, oh, I have no clue what's in here besides the basic idea of maybe the cover card. And similarly with trades, it was really easy to get scammed, particularly if you're like a newer or a younger player and you just didn't know the value of your cards. Somebody like might pull a card that's worth like $80.
Is this just talking about how like the propagation of information has accelerated the pace of the format, the game, the market, everything related to Yu-Gi-Oh! As an ecosystem is just like faster and quicker and snappy, snap, snap, snap because of the internet and technology? I guess that's really what we're talking about here, right? Pretty much. Now, ultimately, that's a huge topic to dissect and break down, and like people have already done this who are way smarter than me. Because this is like a phenomenon that's happened in like the gaming industry for probably the better part of a decade now, with optimizations and tier lists and min-maxing, and everything has to be perfect and optimal, and you got to get like the exact card prices, and you got to trade at the exact value, and your deck list has to be perfect, and it has to be the right number of hand traps, and you got to have the right defensive card lineup, and everything is just like so much more like competitive focused and competition driven rather than like fun driven, right? And you know, that's a fair point, but ultimately fun is derived from winning. At least that's kind of how competition has evolved over the last like however many years at this point. So yeah, so that's just like laying out the context of, I guess, what we're talking about here. I suppose we'll see if Paul has any particular takes or opinions on that.
And not know that it's worth $80, or even just like a card that's worth $12 because it's a common that recently went up in price, like maybe Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind in like 2009 or whatever. It was like a rare
competitive players have fun doing all that though. Yeah, obviously it's not like a criticism or a bad thing. It's just that it's so much more standardized now, because that wasn't really a thing before as much as it is now. Like when you were playing Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid, yeah, you were trying to win, but like for a lot of people, it was like, oh, I want to win with like my cards, or I want to win with the cards that I like. Nowadays, it's like, you know, these grown ass adults with like careers and like mortgages or wives and kids are sitting there like at a table looking at another grown-ass man who like has a lease on an apartment for like a year, is working like as a senior tech analyst for some like corporate 9 to 5 wagey office job, and they're looking at each other completely seriously, and they're like, Cupsy effect, right? Like trying to win the game. But like that's just how the game is developed now, or society has developed now, where like that's where competition is at. Like you're trying to win, you're not trying to like, you know, play with cards that you collected or your friend gave you that like is cool, you know.
A random kid, you might not have known that and had a couple of copies of Gale and gotten scammed out of them and whatever, right? And
complaining
so
a game for kids has been co-opted by adults.
Like
But this is a complete tangent, but this is such a misconstrued point, by the way. Like this is literally not what has happened, right? Yu-Gi-Oh being the problem is like, and one of the biggest issues with Konami, by the way, you see that they've actually done really good job of you know, doing the opposite with this in something like Digimon, for example. Like they've recognized and realized that the people who love their game and used to love their game and bought their game and grew up with their game are now adults. Like the game has aged with the audience, right? Movie series and stuff are really good at this. The book series for like a lot of like old Harry Potter, for example, is a great one, right? Like if you watch like the Harry Potter movies and stuff, right? Like they're very basic kid films, but like as you go through them, they mature and like clearly like the audience is growing with them, right? Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't really seem like it's at that point where the game has sort of evolved around the audience growing with Yu-Gi-Oh. If anything, they've juvenilized is that a word? More, right? In some ways. And just kind of ignoring the fact that people who play their game are grown-ass adults now. Just say you want breasts on the cards. No, I don't want to move to play Shadowverse, man.
More protected for new or more vulnerable people. In addition to that, there are just other nice things. Like, again, event coverage has evolved a lot. We get more.
It's not because you're making the statement that you're complaining. I always hate that when you say a face, which therefore people assume you complain about it. When you say a face, which therefore people assume... I have no idea what this is. Does anyone here speak Twitch chat? What is this guy? I can't translate this. It's also not because you're making the statement that you're complaining. I hate that when you say a face... I think that's supposed to say fact, which therefore people assume you're complaining about it. Oh, I see. Yeah, biggest like misconception that people seem to have on the internet is they don't know the what the underlying term or what the statement value judgment means. Like people seem to misunderstand that like saying something is what's the word? Is condoning that thing, right? Like, if I say, like, you know, I play Max C in my deck to stop my opponent from special summoning so that I can, you know, play my deck and have a turn, etc. There's no value judgment there. That's just stating a fact. Like, yeah, Max C does that. Am I saying it's good? Am I saying it's conceptually healthy? Am I saying it's a fun card? Like, no, that's not how that works, right? Like, people don't understand, like, you're not condoning the thing you're explaining. An explanation isn't a justification. Anyway, we've gone way off course here. Let's continue.
Not all, but more live streams for YCS events, and there's just way more resources available, more places to talk about the game online, more tools and guides and stuff like that. So, late stage Yu-Gi-Oh! In that way seems like it's really good. I mean,
I still haven't got around to my undercover video yet, but yeah, like... I think you could probably become an extremely good, competent Yu-Gi-Oh player very quickly, provided that you are looking in the right places, and you could do it like pretty much like all solo. You go into like, you know, random archetype discords and Reddit, you know, as much as people want to meme on Reddit, watching YouTube videos and stuff, like you can get very good at the game alone in a short span of time if you're willing to put in the research into it, and that's like without someone like hand-holding you through it all. Or even if you do have someone helping you all, you don't need like friends for it. You can just like ask strangers, because there's a lot of people who will be willing to help you. Like the TCG world champ. I mean, literally like Julian, right? Didn't he become world champion like super fast tracked in like a year and a half? Like he went to his first YCS like last January or something, and here he is like world champion. Like if you're smart enough and put the effort in, you can literally fast track to like an optimal position as a player.
There's just a lot of benefits, right? It's easier than ever to like get the resources you need to improve at the game, quickly learn what cards you need to buy, quickly find the values of
new
those
video
cards,
idea, buddy. You think that's an idea? That video is recorded and done. It's just like needs like some fine tuning.
That late stage Yu-Gi-Oh!
I'm just procrastinating.
The sentiment that I've sort of gleaned from a lot of people is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't feel the same anymore, and this gets a little bit nebulous because it kind of varies from person to person. But effectively, we're kind of talking about the whole idea that like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Today, there maybe are people who feel like there's not as much creativity in deck building, or there's not as much discovery in new cards and packs. So, for instance, if a new set comes out and we already kind of know what the best deck in the set or what the best cards to get are going to be, then it means that people spend a lot less time filtering through the commons and the other interesting stuff. And so there's less of a chance that a card can sort of like come out of nowhere and surprise people and be really playable. Somebody might stumble onto some cool tech card. And I do remember that when I was first getting into like competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, we're talking kind of 2008, 2009, this was a much more common occurrence. People might kind of find a card that they didn't know was good until a few months or even sometimes years after the fact as the metagame would evolve. But nowadays, it does sometimes feel like decks and combos and stuff get solved like day one, hour one even, right? Like a new archetype gets revealed and people have already labbed out combos for it and posted them online. And so it's kind of like, man, do you prefer that the game be something where like you can quickly get that solved or nearly solved information?
I don't know what you can really... first of all, identifying this as a problem might not be a correct thing, right? Not that I'm saying he's identifying that everything being insta-solved is a problem, but it does sort of maybe sap a lot of the fun away in some respect, right? When a new archetype gets announced, and we're talking like minutes, within like minutes of that archetype dropping, like people are like putting together spreadsheets and finding the tech cards and coming up with the best lines, and literally by like you wake up the next morning, the entire deck is like solved, right? And I guess in some ways that's kind of sad, but in the other way, in another way, it's like, okay, well, what's the alternative? I mean, you could just like ignore all the things online and just do it yourself. Yeah. It's you could like try and just do it yourself, but then you just feel behind and stupid, right? Because why would you work on a deck by yourself and not pull together other information from other people, right? Like you just take other ideas and then improve upon them. You know what I mean? Not true at all. It's not solved. I think for like pretty much every single archetype that's ever released, within like 24 hours, you can find some kind of a basic competent stepping stone that either is just like good enough by itself, depending on the archetype, or it's you know, at a point where it's like functional to be like, you know, playable out of like the resources that you've collated all together. You're not smarter than the hive mind ultimately. Yeah, literally, yeah. That's yeah. Basic stepping stones does not mean solved. But the thing is, like, for some archetypes, it's like pretty much solved. Right? Like, you think about some archetypes historically, like, they're just not hard to build, right? Like, you know, the Malice, I think, is a very good example. Like, I'm sorry, but Malice is, when that deck was announced, like, that deck was basically done. Yeah, some combo lines are kind of like, you know, definitely workable, and you can fine-tune them and make them a little bit more resilient to, like, hand traps or whatever the main metagame of the current hand trap lineup is. But, like, the deck lists themselves, like, pretty much, like, we're talking, like, 3 to 5 flex spots in a 40-card deck, you know?
Or do you want more time?
We literally had your behind memes and Malice because people solve better lists. Right, and do you know what all that boiled down to? Was 1 to 2 card differences. Literal 1 to 2 card differences, which admittedly were big differences, but like they were like 1 to 2 cards, right? Like the difference between playing that list and another list is like, yeah, maybe it's the difference between like winning a YCS and only topping a YCS, but for the average player, do you think Dot Scraper is going to deny you a locals win or like a regional top because you're playing that version over the other? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm clearly underplaying it because I'm looking at this from the perspective of like the majority player experience, not like the top tier, fully optimized, like cutting edge YCS winning perspective. But again, like the majority of the population doesn't play at that level and never will. They're happy to just play competently and competitively enough with a few hours per week, and Dot Scraper Malice could easily get you there. So again, we're talking like a couple cards difference.
And that's not to say that you can't just sort of disconnect yourself.
Well, it's like the game designers design a game to be played in a certain way, and some people can just figure it out since it's just printed on the cards. And some people. I mean, this is again like a whole other different tangent, but I mean, this is like kind of like functionally the problem, quote unquote, in some ways with archetypes, right? Like, card games in recent years are essentially being made for you rather than providing an environment for you to build the card game. Do you know what I mean? That's just sort of the nature of an archetype. Like when a designer like sits down and they make a new archetype, like they have a vision in their head of how they want this to work, right? And so it's just faster now to figure out that puzzle because of everything that, you know, we've talked about, because of the internet and the hive mind, et cetera, et cetera.
People don't like that. Some people like the sense of discovery and they feel that's lost. Also, as far as, you know, card values and secondary market being determined, I think that this one's a little bit different. Generally, I like that you kind of can just know what your cards are worth, because I don't want people getting scammed. I've gotten scammed plenty when I was just getting into the game, and I don't think that that's one of those things where, like, the kids today need to experience getting ripped off in trades to build character. No, it's really not like that. But I do think that there has been increasingly a greater and greater sentiment towards, like, you know,
we need to shove kids back into lockers and steal their secret rares to build character.
It's buying singles, right? Like, don't buy the sealed packs, just buy the singles. It's better expected value, and that's true. But I do think that maybe back in the day, people were more willing to buy sealed packs.
Bring back bullying
for the magic of opening packs, or maybe to support their locals. And it's gotten a little bit tricky because, like, I still think that buying singles is just the way to go. But, like, I sometimes feel sympathetic towards my card shop when they can't sell a box for the $90 MSRP that it is. It sucks though, because it's like, well, should I buy?
I love Paul's channel. It's so good. I'm not being like sarcastic or anything. Like he just sits in front of a camera and just says like shower thoughts. Like there's no purpose here. There's no conclusion. There's no like argument. It's just like I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just observing, you know? It's just nice to just like have things coming out your head you just listen to. Like you don't. Exactly. That's what I got this streaming thing locked down, you know?
Buy a $90 box that I'm definitely not going to make my money back on just to support my locals. I don't know. I do like to buy a few stray packs.
It's so annoying because, like, anytime I've seen, like, Josh react or something, or I think Josh is maybe the only person who reacts to his videos, there's always, like, Twitch chat is always, like, so negative. It's like, classic Paul always complaining. It's like, I don't really think, like, Paul's, like, usually complaining. It's just, like, observations of positives and negatives. Like, people always, no one can look at anything on this. Again, I'm just, this is the tangent.deck video for me. People on the internet can just never do anything nuanced. Everything is always so 100 or 0. It's like, this is a negative, this is positive, this is toxic, this is perfect, this is amazing, this is terrible. Nothing's just ever like just a thing that you just a flower. You guys ever look at a flower? When you look at a flower and you think to yourself like, oh, that flower is like 8 out of 10. What does that even mean? Sex appeal? Maybe, but that's not what I meant. I don't know where I was going with that.
Here and there, like just for fun, like I'll buy like 1 or 2, but it is getting harder and harder to like justify buying boxes. And I think that with late stage Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of this sort of begins to compound because like
I have a lot of thoughts in my head that sometimes it's hard to articulate them in a very
the idea that all the decks are solid, the idea that the packs aren't worth
correct way sometimes. It's been a long day. Ignore me.
The idea that trading is kind of dead.
What?
I've seen and experienced quite a bit of myself. People sometimes don't even have trade binders at all, or they don't really bring their trade binders to locals.
I don't know, man. Like, what? Yeah, I don't know.
We're not talking like buying singles on TCG player. Just like the trade at locals are more like, you have it, I'll PayPal you the money, I'll Venmo you the money, right? So there's
Beaver discovers autism. I need to take a test. I need to take a test. I actually need to take a test.
Just like with the card value thing, trade could still just involve getting ripped off. So like, I don't know if it was actually perfect or anything like that. And you could even say that old school Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever, however grand and rose tinted it might have looked, still had a metagame, still had known best cards and decks that dominated. So that feeling of discovery and individuality might have been something that was more so just in the heads of like a casual Yu-Gi boomer type, as opposed to something that actually existed. It might have just been sort of the nostalgia of the playground where you played, that had a bunch of kids who didn't have internet and stuff, and just watched the
When's
anime.
the small subathon which you stream the entire week?
It's hard to say.
I have to talk about that for next week. Then I put zero planning towards. I'll be good, honest with you. I was gonna do a 24-hour stream and I haven't really like.
But I do think that like
done anything for it.
Prefer it to how things were back.
By the way, just like he's talking about trading, right? Trading sucks. Like trading is just not a thing. I'm sorry. Like, does anyone still trade? Like, I haven't done a trade. I mean, to be fair, I guess I haven't been playing that much. But any single time I've wanted a card, I go on the internet and I buy it. How do you get trades? Like, that's the thing I don't understand. Like, what is a trade? Like, how do you get trades? The only way to get trades is to buy a bunch of product so that you have, like, a stock of cards, and then you trade those for other cards. But, like, I don't do that. If I want a card, I buy the card. I don't buy product, because buying product is, what's the point? Like, we'll get friends. I buy them from my friends. I don't trade with them because why would I trade? I just buy the cards I want. Like, that's what I don't understand. Because the thing is, if you want to trade, it's not like the good old days where, you know, you show some child like a shiny card and they're like, oh my god, and I'll be like, Here's 3 shiny cards. Give me your Dark Arm Dragon. It's an ultimate rare. It's kind of ugly and icky. It's probably a misprint. It's not very... You don't need that. And he's like, oh, yeah, here's my... I made that up for legal reasons, by the way. That's a joke. But, like, you need something of value to give to the person so that they give you something of value. Right? Is there anything better value than money? Like, I don't know. Like, the only way that I can think that trading actually works is if I buy a deck, like, for example, Malice. I have Malice. It turns out I don't like it. I don't actually want to play it. So what do I do with it? I guess I could trade it. Do you know what usually happens when you trade a deck that is no longer relevant or that is, you know, past its prime or something like that? It's just worth, like, basically nothing. No one wants it. Finding anyone to take it off your hands is, like, just impossible. So I could sit here and try my hardest to try and trade Malice for, like, Dracotail. Who the hell's going to want to do that, right? And if I do find someone to do that, it's like lost all its value. So I don't know. It just feels like trading. I hate trade. I've never traded really, to be honest with you. I think trading sucks. I did a deck core for a deck core before. Yeah, so it's like in an ideal world, like here's the Jush decks, Yummy, Dracotail. They're both good. They're both equal power. Turns out I actually don't like Link Row summoning. What a stupid mechanic. I think cats are dumb. I'm a dog person. Give me Dracotail, Urgala. Ho, 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 ho. Okay, and then you do a trade. And then I guess you can just directly swap, you know, Yummy for Dracotail. I guess that can happen. But I don't know. It's like, it just doesn't feel like that ever really occurs that anywhere near as often now because you just buy the cards you want. Yeah. I know some people who only trade and they always try to scalp the shit out of me, and even when I offer money. Dude, and this is also, like, the most annoying thing. Everyone thinks they're a vendor. It's like some random dude who's maybe bought, like, 1 case his entire life has decided that he's a backpack vendor, and so you try and trade the card that's, like, worth, like, $20, and he's, like, clearly trying to value yours at, like, you know, lowest listed card market sold. And then when he values his cards, it's like listed, not unsold eBay or something, right? eBay's usually higher because there's fees, so they up the prices on eBay to... Like, do you know what I mean? So it's like, they're always... Like, when you trade, it's always like... Well, you can never really trade exact value for exact value. Someone's probably, in most cases, losing out on a couple of dollars of a standard deviation of up and down, and then you get into these awkward situations where someone is like... Maybe you can throw in, like, that ultra rare, or maybe, can I see your binder? Maybe throw in a couple of these supers, and then we'll have a deal. And it's just like, everyone's trying to make a profit and one up each other. And it's just like, because ultimately, what's the point of trading? Is to get value for your value. And if the value isn't at least somewhat equal, then you've been ripped off, or you've ripped someone off. And it's like, it's just a frustrating experience.
In the past. Partly because back in the past I couldn't buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards for myself.
That's why I shop from Card Market. And that's why all of you should go to cardmarket.co/FarfaTW. Click this link right now. You can get all of your card gaming needs from Card Market. Yes, buy cards, use the online platform, etc., etc.
Buy a box versus buying singles.
Anyway.
I was, you know, however many years old in elementary school and I couldn't
About having fun.
my own accord, so maybe that's like just a...
Y'all trading for fun? Y'all in the Arabic souk market trading, making good deals, Habibi, for fun? Who's trading for fun? What is the fun in I guess I can understand that trading is somewhat fun. But again, it's about, like, what are you trading? What are you trading? What is it you're trading? Cards that you have. So cards that you have from what? Cards that you needed, right? I assume. Or you've just invested in product. Which is like, you know, you do what you want with your own money, but why would I buy product? I just don't. What, I'm going to buy a core set of Dune? What am I trying to pull? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Product sucks. That's a whole other discussion. This is a 10-minute video. I've yapped for way too long. Oh my god. All right, sorry, Paul. What was your point? He didn't have a point either. He doesn't have a point. This video has no point. Neither do I. We're just 2 old men yapping.
Me being older helps out, but, like, I don't know. I kind of, it's a very left and right thing. Like, I'm not really sure how we feel. Not left and right.
Left and right. How the hell did we get here? Wait, what did I just miss?
Like a political sense, but, like, just, you know, it's multifaceted thing. And I want to hear how people feel about this. Where do you land? Do you prefer Yu-Gi-Oh now, where things feel like they're solved, the information's right out there, but maybe it's less experimental and fun? Or do you prefer, you know, like, that method because it's you want efficiency and you want speed,
Everything's
you want to be able to,
political,
get into the game
true.
faster. And this is all to not even be talking about the actual power creep and game design and stuff, because that's sort of a different conversation. Although a connected one. I don't know. Let me know how you feel about it. Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. I'll be reading and hopefully being able to respond to a few as well. You like late stage Yu-Gi-Oh, or do you think that maybe this is just more of my bullshit?
I still don't know what the point of this video was. It's fine. Paul doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, he does, but he doesn't know what he's trying to say. I mean, he does. The whole point of the video was everything we talked about. We're just yapping. Yu-Gi-Oh is really fast, and the community and culture around everything in this game is at a point where everything is super try-hard and optimized and solved, and we're just here like cogs in a machine of the hive mind, all trying to like put together a deck, and we're never as good as the sum of all the parts as we are as individuals, unfortunately, etc., etc. So yeah. What do we do about that? I don't know. Single-player games are probably the only way you can probably truly enjoy something without feeling behind, right? I guess is maybe the best way to look at it. Because if you play like a random deck that comes out like Yummy and you try to come up with the lines and combos yourself, you're never going to make better combos than what's publicly available that's all been collected and made by like more than one person, right? Unless you're like super crazy insane at the game. That might be fun, but you're just gonna feel bad like playing a worse version of a deck that you know can be optimized better and played better. So you know, I don't know, go play like a solo player RPG or something like Baldur's Gate and you'll probably have fun, right? Anyway, that's it. That's the APS React.